We have a conservative woman problem. The problem is there are not enough of us. So today I'm speaking with someone who has helped elevate women across America. It's time to spill some sweet tea. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Sweet Tea series. My name is Ariana Guajardo. I'm in DC still, so you're going to see a little bit of a different background behind me, and I'm very glad to be joined by Stacey Schieffelin. Welcome to the show.
Ariana, I am so excited to be here. I am such a big fan of yours. I love watching and listening to your show,
well,
especially drive time in the morning. I can listen to you. I mean, I lived in Dallas 4 years. And we listen. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so good.
Well, do you know how glad I am to have a Texas woman on the show to appreciate the sweet tea? I could not find an ice machine, and you are the reason we have ice today.
Honey, belly up to the bar. We're having sweet tea.
So you are the chair of the America First Women's Initiative. And I'm so glad that Julie introduced us and let me know about all of the work that you guys are doing.
Right.
Because there's so many issues right now that we shouldn't be having. Like, why are we still having to fight for women's spaces in bathrooms? Like, what is that about? Or women's sports? And so I'm so glad that you're helping build a coalition. And I think that's something that's so important is the coalition building.
Right.
But your background didn't start in politics.
No.
So I want to hear a little bit about how you got here. Where did this all begin? Where did Stacey get her start?
Well, thank you so much. Well, first start, my parents were in the cattle business in Florida from Ocala to Okeechobee, so the central part of Florida, a massive area, but raised cattle in Kansas and Florida. So beef cattle was my family's business 3 generations. My parents are still alive. They're 86 and 87. And I think I got my start from hard work, ethics, getting up at 4, building fence, doing everything you did every morning, living on a ranch until you get to school, you have your full day, then became an athlete, loved being in team sports, learned how to be a team player, how to be a servant leader to others, learned how to win, how to lose, come home at the end of a long day of sports and go right back out into the ranch and work again. That work ethic you can't pay for that. I mean, it's something you're gifted as at birth, whether your families are entrepreneurs, there are people that are motivated to go out and make a difference, or your dad or mom works in a C-suite. Anyone that's getting willing and able to get out and do the job every day and do it with a servant leadership mindset, I think in this world today can get along. So we're all, so we have that equal playing field. But when you add athletics to it, it really gives you a heart for knowing a team means team. We're not here alone. We can't do anything in this world alone. We have to have the support and collaboration of others. And when you talk about coalitions, I always had a cohort of girlfriends that were like, lifted me up, brought me along. It was never a hierarchy. It wasn't a clique. I mean, we were hardworking kids from farming and ranching families, and we knew what it was. We were blessed when we were able to be together and having a great time together and living and working together every day. So I think that was the start. Then we progress. I'm 18. Eileen Ford sees me on a golf course. It's a Ford modeling agency in New York City. Says, you should be a model. Come to New York City. I told my parents. My dad goes, no, but you're an athlete. You're going to go to college. You've got a scholarship. You're going to play, basketball and track and field. And then I found out, I don't know. I could see the world. And so my parents took me to New York City.
Was that something that you hadn't got to do before?
Never. Didn't even. I mean, okay, calendar girl in school. You're blessed to be picked by your peers for this, that, and the other. Right. But was not the popular kid. We were conservative Christians. Didn't do the crazy stuff. That most kids get wrapped into today. Was just really low key. And then I get asked for that gift. To try it. So we went to New York City, and lo and behold, I was on the cover of German Vogue in a week, and Eileen says, you're going to Paris, and I lived there for 15 years. And between Germany, France, and Italy, I lived all throughout Europe. I did all the collections for all the major houses. I was a house model, which means they pin clothes on you all day at Saint Laurent, Dior, Chanel, Valentino. It was amazing. And then I was on a circuit. So I would do the house modeling. They'd make all the clothes. We'd do all the runway shows from the haute couture to the ready-to-wear collections. And you did a circuit. You'd do London, New York, Rome, Paris, Milan. And then you would just start all over again.
And I'm guessing that fast-paced stuff, you were able
Very
to do it
fast-paced.
because of your upbringing.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Multitask was not a big deal.
and I'm glad he brought up the early stuff with
Yes.
like doing the ranching. So the Rio Grande Valley, that's where I'm from, super South
so
Texas.
beautiful.
A lot of ranching families.
Yes.
So I didn't grow up like that, but my grandpa did.
Uh-huh.
And he like with all of his kids, so he grew up on a cattle ranch.
Yep.
His dad was a foreman, but he after that continued to have horses. So no matter what. If animals depend on you, that means every morning you're up feeding them, you're making sure that they have exercise, and he was a veterinarian, and that influenced my mom and her brothers. Yeah. And I feel like that's where I get a lot of the values that I have about hard work.
It's true.
But I know that ranching, people who've grown up with that, it's far more than
it. No,
than
but
others,
you get into 4-H, you get into the club, you're doing things with other peers. But that was really great that your mom had that experience.
Yeah.
Because it teaches you what hard work is all about, first of all. You don't have an option. You can't make a choice not whether to feed livestock today or not.
Yeah.
A fence has to be mended or everybody goes mayhem.
Or he was a veterinarian. If there is a large animal being delivered in the middle of the night.
He's going.
Yep.
Yeah, he's not stopping and staying at home.
But I'm sure that kind of work is how you were able to succeed and be able to keep that going.
For sure. I would have never been able to travel at all that. For 22 years, I did that as a model. 154 covers, got to go to 60 countries. I got to see the world, and it was a part of my life I never thought was going to be possible. But I was just the girl next door, right? And it was so great. Wasn't the exotic, like every agency, like Ford was classic blonde, blue-eyed beauties, and then Elite had their look. You're the exotic. You would be at Elite Model Agency. Click had their look. Wilhelmina had their look. So all the women in New York City, we were constantly going. And it was an amazing business back then. It was a true business. And I enjoyed every moment.
Well, what do you mean by that as a true business?
Well, it's changed so much. Like today, you can have influencers that can be models. Back in the day, if you weren't over 5'11", you weren't getting on a catwalk. You weren't working a runway show. But today, if you have 1 million followers, look how it's changed so much. You can be 5'2", and because you have 1 million followers, they want you on their runway. But of course they do. Why wouldn't they? You're going to put it out on social media that you did the catwalk, you did the collections, you did the shows, you walked for that designer, and then they get 1 million impressions. So that
way you do
business has totally changed from when, and digital marketing changed. When I was coming up, my last year, I think I was in my 30s. Yeah, I had Knox at 34. So I was 31 when I stopped modeling like full time. And it was the last year for me. Avon had booked me for the jewelry section in the back of their cosmetic handout, their little catalog. And I sat for an hour. It used to be a 12-hour day, right? And I sat for an hour, and he goes, "Okay, Stace, we're done." And I looked to the photographer. I'm like, "Billy, it's only been an hour." I'm like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Oh, it's all digital now." I said, I was wondering where the 35 millimeter camera was, and it all changed. He says, "Oh, yeah, I can take one picture of you looking like this, looking like this, looking like this, and then digitally, I can change the jewelry on your neck, on your ears, on your hands, and everything. I just need one image of those different styles, and I can change the jewelry."
Wow.
It changed our industry forever, because instead of being booked for a 12-hour day, you're booked for an hour. I mean, it totally changed the way our industry. I mean, everything changes. Kodak must have died when people stopped printing pictures. Everything.
So
progression has to change.
How you would do your work? Like, would you be able to book more shoots, or what was the result?
It all depends on how many more castings you wanted to go on.
Right.
You'd go 15 castings in a day. You might get one if you're lucky. I mean, in modeling, it was the same as sports. You'd learn yes or no. You either got a job or you didn't. And I learned very early not to take it personal. I remember Eileen Ford sitting me down when I was very young, and she goes, "Stace, this is not a business about you. This is about what the client wants, and if you have the look for that day. And don't take it personal. You're a commodity. This is a business. And do not take it personal that they don't want you. You're just not the look for the day."
I think a lot of people aren't comfortable with that kind of criticism. But I see it with, so I do a lot of video editing work.
Oh, yes.
So I work for the Texas Public Policy Foundation.
Love it.
But each campaign I see is kind of my client for that day.
Sure.
So even if they don't like my edit, it doesn't necessarily mean that what I did isn't good. It means that it's not the right look for them. And so I'm not offended when people say, "This isn't working for me," because it just means that there was a miscommunication somewhere. We fix it. It's right.
Right, but you know how people take everything so personal.
Right.
Think about a model going out on 15 castings a day and for 5 days a week and hearing, no, didn't get booked. No, you didn't book that job. No, you're not going to Hawaii this week for that trip. Nope, It didn't have anything to do with who you were as a female or a male model. It had to do with what were they looking for? What was the client wanting? What did the art director want that day?
Right.
Was it one and the same? Did the art director want the same thing as the client?
Right.
Has nothing to do with us as human beings. So I learned rejection is not personal.
Do you think that I guess kind of mentality is something that's missing that, because you have daughters, right?
Yes.
Whenever they were in school, did you see a little bit of difference in mentality of like sugarcoating things,
Sure.
putting on gloves to...
Yep.
How do you think that that's changed?
You do that for your daughters because you need to teach them they can have it all. We teach our daughters, you can do anything you want. But I taught them at a young age, sometimes you just can't have it all at the same time. So Linda McMahon is a friend of mine, Secretary of Education, and we've been friends over 2 decades, almost 3, and we did a series for young women at higher ed. We went around colleges. She started at Sacred Heart University, where she was a trustee on the board, and she started it there, and we went around talking to young women about what it meant to balance life-work balance. What does that mean as a young woman? And my number one question, it was, Stacey, you've done this, you've done that, you've achieved so much, and and now you have your business, and we'll talk about that in a moment, after modeling, and then you've got married, and how did you juggle all that? And I said, here's the answer. It's so very simple. We as women and men can have it all. Sometimes we just can't have it at the same time. You can have the career, you can get the great education, you can find the perfect soulmate, you can have the best of children. But sometimes it's not perfect all at once. We're not perfect beings. God didn't make us that way. We learn from our mistakes, as you've always heard yourself. Your successes come from the mistakes you've made in life. So I taught my daughters that at a young age. Look, it's not going to be all yours all the time. It's not always going to be your way. You've got to roll with the punches and figure out at some time in your life when is enough and when are you happy? Because we just strive for so much. And I think today with social media, it can be a double-edged sword. It can be such a great way for us to get information out there. But as you know, Ariana, sometimes people live by other social media people's lives that aren't even real. And that's heartbreaking for me because they're looking at what somebody else has got, which is not even
what they actually
factual.
have. Yeah.
It's not real.
So what did that look like for you, the not all at the same time? So
not all at the same time. Okay, so great question. I found out very young. I married at 19, and my husband and I were married 7 years, great guy. But we weren't compatible. So amicable divorce. Wonderful guy, never wanted to be in a divorce. My parents are 86 and 87. Heck, they've been married I'm 63, so they've been married 65 years. Wow. And I always wanted that for myself. But I married young. I didn't listen to my parents. I married at 19, like I said. I thought I knew everything. And here's the thing. I thought I could have it all, but I couldn't do the traveling as a model, him being a bit older and him having his own businesses, and you just grow apart. So that's one of those instances like, look at where you're at, what's really important, how can you try and make it work? But sometimes you just can't. As hard as you try and as hard as you hit your knees and pray, please make this work, and you work hard as a couple. That's one of those times that I realized this is not the marriage that we're to have children in. So I couldn't have it all then. I had an amazing career, 15 agencies, traveling 300 days a year with that industry. And I had a great spouse, but it just didn't all work together. And he had a great business and owned a pharmaceutical company and pharmacies all over Florida, and he couldn't make it work. So we tried, but once again, couldn't have it all at the same time. Then I found out what my problem was. I had not spent enough time growing up myself. So people say, hey, when should you get married? I said, that's different for everybody. But if women ask me now what time, I told my kids from a young age when I had them, I'd say to them, when do you get married? And they'd say, 30? And I taught them that. Now, this could have been really bad. A psychologist would have probably kicked me in the you-know-what and said, Stace, that's terrible. And I said, they'll probably get married much earlier. But I want them to think as women, that doesn't have to be the end all be all, even though I love the new tradition of young women and men getting married and having a family and the white picket fence that my parents had in the 50s. I love that idea. Is it for everybody? No.
I think what you're pointing at then is priorities. What is that you're seeking and when? So, for example, I got married at 24. Now I'm like recalculating.
Perfect.
But I've noticed that my career and my success has been better since getting married. And that's because I love having someone who's like encouraging, and the kind of careers that we're in, he also works at a non-profit in the freedom movement.
Yep.
And so a lot of things just
he understands you. You don't have to come home and explain your day.
Yes, that, and a lot of it's the same thing. Like, you share board members, you share a lot of the same people with the same interests. So it seems like there's a part of it where we're working together.
Absolutely.
But like you were saying, just depending on what it is that you're prioritizing at the time, that changes.
And talking about priorities, I love that you got married young and now you're flourishing in your marriage because your husband and you have the same mindset and the same heart set. You found the soulmate that really can be your guiding light, and you can be his as well. When I now talk on these campuses to young women, I say, if you spend as much time prioritizing what your soulmate would look like to you as you did finding that university. Think about how much time you took to find the college of your dreams, find the career of your dreams. We as women put so much time and effort into that, but how much time and effort do we really put into finding the perfect soulmate?
And so I think what you're saying then is like, for Catholics, we call it discernment.
Yes.
And then there's a part of like inviting God into that conversation as well.
That's right. Discernment. And I said, Linda and I always talk about women have a seventh sense. We have our gut. If a guy shows himself in a light that you know is not godly, like if he's rude to a taxi driver or to a waiter, he's not your guy. If you notice that, he's not your guy. If you don't notice it, then you've got to start looking deeper and saying, why didn't I notice? Later, you figure out, oh my gosh, I saw how he treated my friends. He wasn't very nice, but I didn't see it at the time. You know what I'm saying? It's discernment. Use your gut. Notice that the small things are the big things, because we only become more of ourselves. When people say, oh, but he'll change, she'll change.
Nope.
Nobody changes. They only become more themselves. So you have to really use that discernment.
And
I love
you're
that.
not going to change someone.
No.
They might change later on, but it won't be.
It won't be real.
I'm glad you're saying this. I have so many conversations with my friends where I'm like, or she's like, well, he said nice enough.
Enough.
You're not that interested.
What's enough?
No,
What's enough? We all deserve. God wants us to have the most ultimate relationship with ourself, self-love, but also with the spouse that he's chosen for us. I mean, this is fate. We know that he knows every hair on our head. He knows who our soulmate's going to be. And when we try and put that square peg into a round hole, and we've all done it as women. We've all done it. My second marriage, I did the same thing. I tried to make that thing work. He was the one for me. I'm going to make this work. And then that darn thing fell apart. It became abusive. I didn't know it. He started on working out and getting on steroids, and God forbid, we know that can kind of change your whole mindset. I didn't blame him. I blamed that. But we couldn't get away from it. I mean, and it became abusive, and I had to leave, and I'm like, okay, that's it. 2 marriages. Ariana, I'm done with this. I never want to do this thing again. I'm finished. And then, you know what? I gave it to God. I said, I cannot pick the right man for me. I just can't do it. I'm leaving it up to you. You've got this. And I'm not going to be like on the lookout for Mr. Right. And we shouldn't be up for Mrs. Right or Mr. Right. It should be right at the right time when priorities are important and you have your life in alignment with Christ. I mean, when all that works, then your soulmate shows up. But it takes a lot of beating for yourself to get to that self. What do I really want in life? What's important to me? So then I met my soulmate. 30 years, David and I were married. Absolutely the perfect marriage. I mean, literally, I always said to all my girlfriends, they're like, gosh, David's so perfect. I was like, yeah, if I could clone him, every woman would have this bliss because he's just amazing. And then sadly, I lost him this April to a heart attack.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And my heart was just crushed. crushed because I had found my soulmate, my best friend, my business partner, the most amazing father to our incredible 2 daughters. He talked to them every day, even if it was just 2 minutes. Hey, babe, just calling you. Love you. Mommy and daddy are here for you. I mean, you just don't find it. Healthy as could be. This guy, no medications, athlete, Harvard grad, ran Fox for years. Just brilliant. Brilliant. Everything, had all of it, and a heart of gold. Would stop on the side of the road at a light, and if somebody didn't have a pair of shoes or a shirt, he would take his personally off and hand it to a person.
Wow.
Who does that?
Yeah.
Nobody. Nobody I've ever seen do that. I've never done it, and I watched my husband do it. He didn't do it for show. He didn't do it to be recognized. He never even let me tell people he did it. It's the first time I'm able to mention it now that he's gone. He just never wanted that. He was just that kind of person.
And did that help shape who you are and the kind of things that you feel passionate about?
Yes. Now more than ever. The last 4 years, David and I got so activated into policy and politics, and seeing our friend Linda McMahon and Brooke Rollins and Greg Sindelar at TPPF and Tim Dunn in Texas, and seeing Larry Kudlow and all these amazing people that we've known, just real people doing extraordinary things that start at local, go to national, and how impactful it can be. And then David and I went to 47 rallies with President Trump. We traveled all over the country, anywhere he was. I put 250,000 miles on my SUV. In 2 years, we did not miss a rally. We loved it. And then our last one was Wildwood, New Jersey, with Martin Gillespie and his wife, Joanna, that work here at America First Policy Institute. And a whole bunch of us went down to Wildwood, New Jersey, 150,000 people at that one on the beach. It was amazing. And I said, okay, he's 47th president. I've gone to my 47th rally. David and I looked at ourselves. We said, we've seen it and experienced it all. We've seen the man down and out, people attacking him, trying to take him out, assassination attempt. We've seen it all. How can this country survive and make a difference? And I came on staff here at America First Policy Institute, and I never looked back. And I'm so glad that we are cohorts together with TPPF in Texas, because it's meaningful. Brooke and Greg got together and said, look, here's the deal. This is a 100-year plan. We're going to do this. We're not giving up. We've got to coalesce and bring all our collaborators together, the grassroots, all the coalitions. Now there's over 100 coalitions working with our teams, yours and mine. That's never happened before. The Republican Party has never done that, Ariana. Democrats, they figured it out. We're team players. Let's get together. Oh, my gosh. Even if they're enemies, when it comes to getting a candidate elected or a presidential general election, primaries, they're running. They're running together like team effort. I think we finally figured it out that no one needs to work in their silo anymore.
Right.
That's important.
I think in the past, I actually fell into this a lot in college. So I was part of a conservative organization, but I never wanted to work with the other conservative groups because I was this like purist of like, well, this needs to have all these things, and if you're not exactly perfect. But I've realized recently since like getting into my professional life, the importance of having coalitions and finding when you have common ground and working with people on the ground that you do have in common. Right. So through all of the stuff that you were talking about, at some point in that, you had 2 daughters. Yes. How did you balance being able to raise daughters to also become leaders themselves and have all those values as well while you're still trying to manage? I'm guessing you were in business at that time as well?
Yes. We had 2 brands, cosmetic brands on TV shopping channels. Our first brand was called Models Prefer. My husband named it. One day he said, what do models prefer to do once they get out of the business? Hence came the name Models Prefer. It was a cosmetic brand. And then our second brand, that was at QVC for 14 years, and then 14 years at HSN. Now they're merged the 2 companies under the brand umbrella on this New York Stock Exchange's Curate. But QVC was my first network. HSN, Home Shopping Network in St. Petersburg, is my second one. The second brand, our customers named it YBF, products you tell your best friend about. Another cosmetic brand, but the customers on a cruise, 5,000 women out at sea. We used to take we didn't call our customers, we call them girlfriends. Even when I had Models Prefer, they'd call in and talk like we've known each other forever on our testimonial lines at our networks. And I loved every day of that. That was 30 years, 320 days a year on the road. And we were in 8 networks in 28 countries, all live television. So like we're in our podcast mode, we're taping. This is all live TV. So I'd be in Australia, Dubai, China, Moscow, back to London, Ireland, France, Germany, Canada, America.
So this is your continuing just like go
like the
live.
modeling thing on a circuit. This was the TV circuit and selling our products. And we did everything, pick, pack, wrap, strap, all in our own warehouse in Connecticut. Back to our daughters, they worked in the business with us from the time they were little and can push the button on the shrink wrap machine, skid on the skid loader. They'd ride with me on the skid machine. They'd work on the assembly line. Work ethic again. Teaching them the value of a dime, what it meant to earn money, what it meant to respect money, that everything has a cost. Every loss in a day, whether it's packing material on the floor at the end of the day and you're having to sweep it up, that packing material cost a penny. Everything has value. Treat things with value. So they learn from a very young age, pick, pack, wrap, strap. My husband and I used to drive the trucks when we started, 53-foot semis, because I'm in the cattle business. Of course, I had my Class A license. I could drive semis. People are like, oh my God, she goes from modeling. She's on TV. She's back in the truck at the warehouse. She's in the semi, backing it up at the loading docks in Lancaster, PA. I'll never forget the first time I did it at QVC. The guy looks at me and he goes, oh my God, you're the woman on television. I said, yeah, my truck driver didn't come to work today and I had to drive and I'm on air tomorrow. And I said, I'm coming to PA from Connecticut anyway. So I just brought the truck. And he's like, oh, do you need me to back it up for you? I said, no, that's okay. I'm good. Because he didn't know, right? You wouldn't know. Why would you think that I would be able to back a 53-foot semi up to a loading dock? So, yeah, we did everything. Dave and I did absolutely everything for 30 years. We loved it. And my daughters learned.
I'm glad that they were there.
They learned everything.
Listening to a podcast, and Usha Vance was on, and she was just talking about how important it was for her as a mom to incorporate her kids
Absolutely.
into she was saying, like, with cooking,
every day.
you can, like, cook with your kids instead of setting them in front of the TV. And so it sounds like for you, your daughters learned that they were valuable members, that they
contributors.
Right.
You have to contribute. In this life, nothing comes to us free. If you want anything in life, whether it's the most minute thing to something luxury that you want to have, you must earn it. You must work for it. It's not going to be given to you. I mean, today they say, oh, young people, they're entitled. I'm like, no, they're not. You start telling a kid they're entitled, they'll be entitled. I never let my kids know they were entitled. They paid for their own cars, their own college. Thank God Lou got like 14 scholarship offers. So she didn't have a college tuition, but she paid for her apartment in her sorority. You want to be a member of a sorority? It's $3,000 to $4,000. You want to live in the house? Great. You're paying for it. That was important. My parents did that to me. I did it to my daughters. At the time, they were like, gosh, nobody else's parents is making them pay for all this. I'm like, that's okay. Later, you'll know what a dime means. And guess what? When you need oil in that car and the oil light comes on, you're not going to wait a week and call daddy and say, hey, my car needs oil. You paid for that car. You're going to go down to the Jiffy Lube and get yourself some oil. Because you own that possession, you have to take care of it. And I think my kids learned a lot by having those tough lessons. It was hard. Of course, as a parent, you want to do everything. You just do. You want to do everything for your kid. But there were just some things that my parents taught us that if it's worth having and you want it, you'll work hard enough for it.
So do you think millennials then suffered from this, like, I don't know how else to put it other than the bigotry of low expectations.
Right.
So the bar is set lower.
Yep.
You just have to do the bare minimum, and then it doesn't come through versus setting a higher goal, and then people will achieve it if it's good for them.
Right. And I think we have actually, I don't know if it's harmed. We've taken a lot of I would call it joy. Mm-hmm. It's not even a negative. We've taken a lot of the joy out of young people, no matter if it's Gen X, Gen Y, whatever generation. I would say in the last 25 years. I'll put it that way. The last 25 to 30 years, we took the joy out of having to figure stuff out. So the example is in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I can talk because I'm from those eras. I can tell you that our parents' blatant statement every day was, if on the weekends and we didn't have a chore to do, which was rare, we never said the word maybe more than twice in our life, I'm bored. You hear young people today say, "I'm bored with a job, with a career, with being young kids, teenagers. I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored." You know what our parents said to us? "Well, get out in the yard and figure something out. Go build something. Go do something. I'll see you at dusk." That was it. It was like not like, "I'm going to fix that for you. I'm going to drive you and your friends down to the movie theater." It wasn't that. First of all, we didn't have the money for that. We just didn't do that. You could be an hour away from a movie theater. The way we were raised, you just didn't do those things. So I think parents need to tell their kids more today. Go do something. Go do a project. Get your kids using their hands. When we were young, Ariana, we had homeroom. You had a workshop or you had home ec. You could take woodworking or you could learn how to sew and bake. We don't have that anymore.
Right. Either way, it's tactical, and I guess that is something that's missing. Yeah.
It's what's missing. No hands-on, no achievement.
I make me feel like I was raised so soft now.
Yeah, exactly. There's no concept to completion. I figured that out on my own. It may not be pretty when I'm finished with her, but gosh, I made her all by myself. I remember that first wrap dress I made. I mean, that was like a big deal, and you got to wear it at a little fashion show in high school. And then the first cake you make, and then I did workshop, of course, because I was a tomboy. So I love workshop room. But today, what would they call me? We've got put names on things. Oh, she doesn't like Barbie dolls. She must really want to be a boy. Where did the common sense in that happen? I think everybody in my generation would have been like, oh, they would have put me in a whole nother class. We were all tomboys. I played with my neighbor's G.I. Joes.
Yeah.
He played with my Barbie dolls. I remember he cut all the hair off of it. But I'm thinking, how crazy is it that we've put kids in a box? There's so many things if I go back in the different generations about how we had to figure things out.
So at this point, I can see that you're connecting a lot of the stuff that you've done before to the policy stuff.
Right.
At what point did that officially transition? Like, when did you go from the businesses that you were running to wanting to get more invested in policy? Or at some point, you were the co-founder of Live. Will you tell me a little bit about that movement? Like, where does all this
That was crazy. So Linda McMahon, Debbie Saviano, and myself and my husband started a company called Women's Leadership Live. And it was us taking Shark Tank on the road. So we could go around the country and find other entrepreneurial women and men that wanted to take their product and put it on our shopping channels. So we would do a 3-day event. It was soup to nuts. It was like WWE. I mean, if you're working with Linda McMahon, it's not going to be like, okay, we'll put up a little backdrop here and we'll do a little Shark Tank. No, it looked like a show. People wanted to come, get engaged, get connected. So Linda was the mogul because she built one of the largest entertainment businesses in the world. I mean, they just sold for $21 billion to TKO, where they merged, and that's the largest sports entertainment merge ever in the history of America. But she was the CEO of that company for 30 years. So she was the mogul CEO. I was the product concept to completion and then sales. And then Debbie Saviano, our girlfriend, she's iconic in teaching herself after 30 years of being in education, principals of multiple schools throughout Texas. She was the social media guru. She sat with an MIT guy for like almost 6 weeks, learned everything back end and front end, everything in social media, how people view things, how to market something and push and pull. She learned all that and became a LinkedIn specialist. And at that time, we just had Facebook. So she was doing Facebook, then Instagram came along. And so we would take 3 days, empowerment, how to be your own CEO from Linda. I would teach product development, how to take a product to market. We'd give them resources, manufacturing, lawyers, attorneys. They could ask any questions. At the end of the 3 days, they'd get to do a Shark Tank presentation. I had Kevin Harrington, who started Shark Tank. All of the Shark Tank people, they were our judges, and we'd give a $100,000 check away to the female business. Men were always invited, but we gave the scholarships because it was Women's Leadership Live. Mm-hmm. We gave it to women, and then my husband would help with all the manufacturing, all the distribution, resourcing, and we would take the products to our shopping channel. And women, like 40 women went to network. from just all of us coming together, collaborating. I mean, everybody learned so much at Women's Leadership Live. Even if they didn't win or didn't get their products up on the stage, we always take 5 people and then 1 winner. Everybody went away with something so poignant for either starting a business, whether it was just an idea on a napkin, or they were already in full production, and how would they make their company go hockey stick? Which in business that means a profit and loss. How are they at the end of the year are they going to see a huge revenue and all this come into their company? They learned everything they needed to know after those 3 days, and we did that quarterly for almost 8 years. Loved doing it so much. But then Linda got a call from the president, and she got asked to come in and run the SBA administration.
Wow.
So then that transitioned her into being SBA secretary. So she came to D.C. Debbie and I did Women's Leadership Live for a couple more months. I was still on my shopping channels. We were still doing all of that and loved it. And then finally we're like, look, it's just no fun without the 3 of us. So Linda goes, you know what? You've ran this company 30 years with all your shopping channels and your cosmetic companies. What do you think about helping with framing, messaging, marketing, communications? What do you think about taking a message to the people about our country? I never thought about policy and politics in my life. To be honest, I got to be honest with every woman and man out there. It was nothing that ever affected me, so I thought. I didn't know how much it did local politics affect us nationally. I had no idea. I was so ignorant to all of it. My whole life didn't run around those circles at all. And I hardly knew anyone in D.C., so I didn't know this world. So Linda got in. We got to go around the country with her to a few of her SBA. She went to over 60 SBA, Small Business Administration offices around the nation. No SBA administrator had ever done it. She redid all the infrastructure and the computer systems for SBA. They were antiquated. It was so antiquated. From her WWE days and running 600 to 700 people at a time at any given time, she knew how to master people and how to lead with grace, grit, a lot of kindness, a lot of understanding that she didn't know everything. And I watched her. I watched her get into an industry she had no idea about, this DC world. And I thought, oh, wow, Linda, I just give you so much credit. She goes, Stace, I need you. I want you to come meet AFPI, see what they're doing. Brooke Rollins, you're going to love her. I never heard of Brooke Rollins. I wasn't from Texas. She says, oh, you're going to love her. She started this organization, TPPF, with her team. She's doing massive things. She was in, domestic policy advisor to the president in the first administration. We may not win this thing in 2020. You got to come and just see what we're doing. So I went to a gala at Mar-a-Lago. I got to meet everybody from Larry Kudlow, Linda, and Brooke, who were the founders of America First Policy Institute, and thought, wow, they really have something here. They're really passionate about saving our great constitutional republic.
Is that when you also realized that there were issues that needed to be fixed?
Yeah, and I didn't see it before. I didn't see it before, and you know what? A lot of us as Americans, we're not going to see it. We're not going to see everything. It's not going to be forward-facing always. But you have to know in your towns, in your communities, in your counties, there's 3,300 counties across America. We can make a difference. We, the people, are in charge of our country. Our great nation is we, the people. It's not our government. They work for us. We're the masters of all of this, and we forget it. God gave us such a beautiful world, and half the time, we are not paying attention. We just need to pay attention to what's going on locally. And especially with this Title IX, boys and girls sports. Take something that simple. If you're like, I don't know where to start. Stace, you're talking about all this, and you came in, yes, I came in at a high level. I got to meet, I know now all the administrators. I'm so blessed. They're all friends. We had 90 of our team from America First Policy Institute go into the administration, of which 7 are cabinet members. 24 people in our U.S. cabinet, 8 are women. They all hang out with Linda and Brooke and Pam Bondi. They're all there together. One of my besties that I've met now is Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer for Labor. Love her. Would have never met her in a lifetime. She did so much. She was the first woman, congressman ever to win her congressional seat. I mean, all these women that have done incredible things now could be doing anything else but being in a cabinet, which, you don't get paid enough to work 12-hour days like these women work, and men. And I saw, wow, these people are really laying it out on the line. I mean, Doug Collins was here with us. He was our state chapter for Georgia. He's running Veterans Affairs. I mean, these people are Pete Hegseth and his wife Jen, most incredible couple. Everything we see in the media is not real. We just have to say, that's not what is. Just don't trust everything you always see. There's something always else going in the background. And believe me, these people are working. Look at our president. I watched him in that first administration with Linda, and he worked hard. Nothing like this term. In the first 100 days, 86%, now we're at 90% of administrative policies and executive orders have come out of America First Policy Institute and Texas Public Policy Foundation working together. What other institutions can say 90% of what is the president is looking at and taking into law and order came from our think tanks?
Yeah, it is historic. Like that doesn't usually happen.
It's your world. You know it. You've been in this for so long. This is all new to me. I would have never thought when they were like, Stace, you guys are at the tip of the spear. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean tip of the spear? They're like,
This isn't normal.
It's
That
not
doesn't
normal.
happen. Yeah.
You're 600 steps away from the White House, your office. All the people in the administration all have a connection in some way or another to all of our organizations, especially now all the coalitions we're working with.
Right.
We all have a voice. Yesterday, Lauren and my coworker and I were on the phone with the White House. We're talking every week about America First, the movement, and America 250. What will the birthday of America look like, and how should it look? Brittany, amazing. Brett over there at the White House, these two women, I've never been so impressed by two young women like yourself that are like leaders, getting it done. They're doers. This America 250 celebration will be like no other. When you guys tune in, and you're going to be able to have a download of it. It's going live today. The website. It's called America Freedom 250, I believe, but we'll make sure we give it so you can.
Yes, it'll be at the bottom of this.
Bottom, perfect. So it'll be out, and you guys will see the scheduling, all the events, the possibilities of how your families are going to fall in love with America. And if they aren't already, they're going to do it again and again over next year.
You can see DC getting ready. That's the interesting thing of being
Incredible.
here. You can see that they're getting stuff ready. The buildings are getting
do you see how beautiful and clean everything is?
Yes.
We've helped the homeless. Mm-hmm. We didn't get rid of the homeless. You guys have got to think about it. When President Trump said, we don't want homeless, we don't want our graffiti on our buildings, my friend Robbie came in and he cleaned this city up. He's with Clark Construction. Mm. He did such a beautiful job, and now he's the one overseeing the building of the ballroom at the White House. President Trump does things with excellence, and he's a hard worker, and he doesn't ask people to do something he wouldn't do himself. That's why I think so many young people, that we have over 200 people staff here at AFPI, and you guys have, I don't even know how many at TPPF in Texas.
Maybe like 130-ish.
I know, it's huge. So do tanks. Here we are doing things. We're not think tanks. We're doing.
Yes.
We're doing.
We have to say that because
we are at war. This is good against evil, dark against light. If people think they're going to sit on their laurels and sit on the sidelines, this is not the time. This is the time for us all to get up and run together.
Well, I want to talk about how in this 250th year, one of the things that's being launched bigger and better is the America First Women's Initiative.
Yes.
Will you tell me just a brief overview of what you guys are doing, what you guys are for, and what we can look forward to?
Well, it's a movement of women who've come together under America First Policy Institute, and it's called America First Women's Initiative, as you mentioned. And it's all about having transparency in government. Mm-hmm. Because when we know what's really happening in our government, it's like I just did a Truth Tuesday the other day, and I talked about transparency in AI. When you realize how AI can benefit and also not benefit us as humans, it's the knowledge, it's the transparency. Where and when are you going to open your eyes to know there's good and bad in everything? We need to know the transparency in our government. How does it run on a national and local level? And until that day comes, that's what one of our biggest fights going to be, especially with election integrity. We have to know how the pollsters are working, how our judges and our precincts are working, All of that is so important locally. If you say, I don't know how to get started locally during the midterms.
And you can make so much of an influence locally.
My gosh, it's huge.
Right. And
huge.
Especially whenever elections are decided on a matter of sometimes tens of people, depending on where you live, local stuff matters.
It's local is national. It's impactful.
I've had a guest before who she's just a mom real estate agent, but she realized that there were when she took her toddlers to the library, there were so many books that were just in the kids section that were not appropriate for kids.
That's right.
So she joined her library board.
And
that's what I want people to get out of this is you can make a difference in your community. There's so many things that need to be changed, so we all need to take up a role in that.
And it's such a small initiative to do that at your library. What is they going to meet? Twice a month? If they're lucky, maybe once a month.
Right.
But then she can regulate what her children and other children are seeing. It's like when we saw porn. I'm going to call it what it is. It was porn in books that kindergarten to the third grade was looking at that school boards, when a parent would say something, didn't even want you to read from the book or say anything or show the imagery. All done in cartoons to bring kids in and get them interested. It was pornography. When they said you couldn't speak to it, do you know what one of the moms, I'm on the board for Moms for America, 500,000 moms, and they won so many seats, Ariana, for school board this past couple years. One of the Moms for America moms in Sarasota, Florida, said, I'll just read from this book, and then you guys will tell me if it's something you'd want your kids or grandkids listening to. Well, she started reading. She wasn't 3 sentences in, and she got called down and said, you can't read that here. And she said, well, let's just look at common sense then. If I can't read this to you, and we're all adults, there's not one child in this room, then why would you be willing to let someone read this to my kid at school?
Right.
Until you bring it down like there's a binary choice. You're going to read about porn to your kids or you're not. That's a yes or no. Until we get our messaging and framing that simple in America, nobody's going to stand up and speak out. It has to. We've always tried to speak over the American people's head. And I learned in television a long time ago when I would be doing a demonstration with my products on TV. If I started talking about the science behind the product, which was so wonderful because I mix skincare ingredients with color cosmetics, you'd lose your viewer. They don't care about the how did it get to that. They want to know benefit, feature, problem, solution. Show it to me, show me how it works. Give me a reason why in 30 seconds it's easy for me and I can use it. When we start thinking in that mindset about how to talk to people, to the American public about our economy, affordability, just from eggs to milk to gasoline, keep it simple. We will win the ears and voices for them to have their voice be their vote. They'll go out and be disciples. But until somebody can explain to them how easy to make it a local message in their town, they're not going to. I love that the mother's a mother, real estate agent, found time to go and participate at her kids' school library. Just something so simple.
Right.
So simple. That's
and
what it
there's
takes.
so many women who are doing that, and I hope more get to do it.
Yes.
Let's say someone hears this today. They are wanting to get involved. It's
Sure.
America 250. They're excited. Where can they find more information?
They go text women, WOMEN, to 70107. Text women to 70107, and we'll send you all the information on our transparency in government, how we want to revitalize and affirm women in the workplace and in our communities, how unity across divides is important. We cannot just speak to one another anymore. I say that there's no red, there's no blue. We're red, white, and blue. We must think that way. I'm not Democrat. You're not Republican. We got to think as one. That unification is so important that we come together. And as women, we can do that because we just naturally, we're nurturers. We naturally do that. We've got to trust in our nation's greatness and goodness. When you text that women to 70107, we'll show you what can you do in your community to trust that our nation is good and great again. God has given us so much. You all have so many assets that you can bring to the party. Don't think that you don't have something to give. We all do. And then the last thing is that we're participating in health, mind, body, spirit, and our land. Our land has been bought up by foreign adversaries. Why we let that happen? I mean, Brooke Rollins over at Department of Agriculture has said almost 300,000 acres across America has been purchased by foreign adversaries.
Oh, we've had to deal with that in Texas this session.
In Texas, around our military bases.
Yep.
Now, why are they doing that? You got Chinese companies buying land around military locations. Why would we ever even allow that? What does that mean? Nobody was local in their local business that let zoning and planning allow that purchase to go through. We should know who's buying land around all our military bases. So what I've just named off, trust in government, affirmation of women, unity, truth in our goodness and greatness in America, and our health about mind, body, and spirit. How do we make our food supply great again? All of these things matter. Spell out truth. That's our truth initiative at Women's Initiative. And it's important that everyone understands until we get to the truth, we can't win our country back. And here's the one great thing about truth, Ariana. There is no subtext. Truth is truth. When you don't speak truth, there's excuses for everything else. Why something doesn't work, why this happened, who people, they're scapegoating, they're blaming this person and that person. Why? Because they're not centered in truth. And that's our biblical foundations and our constitutional law. And that's why AFPI drew me in, because that's the basis. And that's where we started from Brooke Rollins that started TPPF, which is your home. Mm-hmm. So see how that trickled down after 15 years of her being there, starting this 5 years ago. 20 years she started. It's just like a snowball effect. We just have to keep thinking biblical foundations, constitutional law, and in that order. Him first, and then we take care of our nation. Everything else works itself out.
Well, Stacey, thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
You. I'm sorry I talk so much.
No, I loved it. That's the point of conversation, isn't it? No, and it's been so wonderful, and I feel like I've learned so much from this. I feel more motivated. Like I'm going to be working harder, publishing more podcast episodes. So thank you so much for taking the time. Everyone, remember to text. It's women to
70107, and we'll love to have you join and be a part of us. It costs nothing but a little bit of your time. We have a postcard series. We'll send you out postcards. We'll send you addresses to write to other women that need to hear our message about freedom and liberty and what it means to be a woman in America. And that in this election period, this midterm, we all really have to get out and do our part. And if it's just you picking up 5 people and taking them to the polls, you've done your part. I mean, it can be that simple and meaningful.
Well, thank you so much again. Thank you for spilling some sweet tea with me.
Oh, I love it. And thanks for your tea. Texas tea is great. Woo,
Cheers. And everyone, I will see you next time.